Hey everybody, thanks for coming for another video where today I'm going to be going over how to do enemy movement. In the last video we looked over how to do camera movement, and yeah, in the next video after this we're going to be going over how to make the enemy target the player, because in this video we're going to do patrolling, so the enemy going from one position to the other and then looping back around and going back and forth. And then next we're going to be doing targeting, so the enemy will target the player. After that we're going to be making it to where it'll patrol, and then if the player gets a certain distance to the enemy it'll start targeting. And then after that we're going to be doing a health system, to where the enemy can actually hurt the player. So what I'm going to start out with is I'm going to add the enemy to the scene. I just created this basic model. I'm going to, because it is blurry, because it's bilinear, I'm going to make it point no filter. I'm going to apply. And then I'm going to take the enemy and then make it just a tad bit bigger. So I make it like 1.5 by 1.5. Then maybe just a little bit smaller, so like 1.3. Both X and Y. Then I'm going to move it down to where it's like that. And so yeah, then I'm going to add a box collider component onto it. And I'm going to make it a box collider 2D. And I'm going to also add a AI Patrolling Controller. Then I'm going to add the script, and I'm going to create an ad. Go to the references up above, and I'm going to create some references. So I'm going to do a public float. I'm going to make the speed, and then down in the update method, or actually up here, I'm also going to want to add a private sprite render. I'm going to call this EnemySprite. Then, in the start method, I want EnemySprite to be equal to the gameObject.GetComponent. And then, I want that component to be the sprite render. Then I'm going to do an open and close parentheses, and then a semicolon. And what that's doing is that's basically making it to where this sprite render is this gameObject's sprite render. So basically, I just am setting it to being the enemy's sprite render. Then, in the script, I want it to be in an update method. I want it to be to if the EnemySprite.flipX, so flipping along the x-axis, is equal to false. I want it to do this, and basically what that's doing is it's basically referencing the sprite render, and then along this flip, it shows an x and a y, so I can flip it left and right and up and down. Now what we're going to be doing is x, because as you can see when I flip it, the actual player, or not player but enemy, is flipping left and right. So that's how you'd make it, look in the different directions you want it to flip. And basically false would be if this is not checked, so basically if it's facing right. Which means that if I make it to it if the EnemySprite is equal to true, meaning that it's facing left, then I want to do this line of code. Now, if it's right, I want it to move in that direction. So I want to do transform.position, and I want that to equal a value. So I could make it equal speed, but that won't work because speed is a float. So what I could do is make this a vector 3, but I only want it to be one value because I don't want it to make it go in all directions. I only want it to go along the x value. And that's because transform.position, which is a transform position component, and that's x, y, and z. It's a vector 3, tracks all 3 positions. So, and speed is a float, which means it only tracks one of them. So I need to change speed into a vector 3. So I do vector 3, and I'm going to call this EnemySpeed. And I need that to equal a new vector 3. And that vector 3 I need to be a speed along the x multiplied by Time.deltaTime, and then a 0 along the y and the z. Then I need this to not equal speed but equal EnemySpeed. Now I need to copy this because it's essentially the exact same thing. The only difference is instead of doing equals for the transform.position, do plus equal, because when it's false, it's going in a positive direction, but you want it to be when it's true, so it's flipped facing left. You want it to go into a negative direction, because left is a negative direction. So now I'm going to save the script, and I'm going to go out. And then, in the controller it'll show the speed. I'm just going to set that to 0.3, and I'm going to play. So, since it's flipped right, it's going to start going right, but then if I go to the flip and then flip it the other direction, it'll start going in that direction. So depending on which way it's facing, which is by that black thing, the black thing on the top of it is like its head, so it's going left and right, depending on which way I flip it. And if I were to make 0.3 go to like 0.5, it'll start going a little bit faster. So, if I go out, I'm actually just going to permanently change this to 0.5, and then go into the script. Now I need to make it change to facing left and right. So I'm going to make 2 more public floats, and I'm going to make this one be MinValue, and I'm going to make the other one be MaxValue if the transform.position along the x-axis is less than or equal to the MinValue. Then I want to do this. So basically, if the enemy, depending on what I make the MinValue, is at that minimum value, it's going to do the thing. And what I want to do, since the MinValue be farthest on the left, I want to flip right. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it right below it. But instead of making this less than, I'm going to make this greater than. And instead of doing MinValue, I'm going to do MaxValue. Then in MinValue, I want to, since it's all the way on its left, I want to flip it right. So I want it to go into the EnemySprite.flipX. And I want that to equal false, because I want to flip it to where it's facing right. Then I want to copy that and then paste it down in the other section. But instead of being false, I want it to be true. And so now if I save it, then go out, I need to set up its min and max value, so where I want it to be patrolling, pretty much. So I want to, let's say, start patrolling on this side of the door, and so I want this to be its minimum value. So I want to copy the X position, I want to paste this into the minimum value, then I want to move this to its maximum value, which is all the way on the end of the platform. So I want to copy this value, I'm going to Control Z to put it back to here, and I'm going to paste this into the maximum value. So now if I maximize and press play, and then run up to it, I'm actually going to change the speed of it. Let's say it may be being like 1. I don't know how fast that's going to go, but let's try it. Then if I move over, it's gonna be moving right. And then when it reaches that maximum value all the way on the right, it's going to flip this way, and it's going to start moving towards me. And then when it moves all the way over here, closest to me, it'll flip back, start moving that way. Because, yeah, it's basically, that's its speed, and when it reaches its minimum and then its maximum value. So if you want to make another enemy, I could duplicate this. I could move it to the left a little bit, maybe. And maybe have this one patrol this area. So I want its minimum value to be this. So I'm going to paste this into the minimum value, and I want its maximum value to be this. So I want to copy this, and I want to paste this into the maximum value. And I want the speed to maybe be in like 1.5, so to move a little bit faster. Now if I press play, there'll be both of them. This one will be moving faster than the other one, but both of them can patrol their own area. Because yeah, what I did in the past for this, which didn't work out so well, is I did it with animations, making it to where the animation would track all 3 positions. But the problem with that is you would have to create like an animation for each enemy, and then it would just start piling up and it would be a big mess. But with this, you can just add the script onto any enemy and it'll work. So in the next video, I'm going to be making it to where, depending on where you are, the enemy is going to start tracking you and trying to follow where you are. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Join me next week where I will be going over targeting.